Well, folks, welcome back to Three's In. I'm going to start this morning with a story about one of my IPs when I worked in check section. I'm kind of curious how my new super dandy microphone's going to work out just sitting next to me instead of sitting here in my face. But anyway, we'll just get started with it. This fella's name was Papa Fox. Those are actually his initials. He was a young FAIP, a first assignment IP, who had his first assignment after pilot training was up advanced, and then he came down to Randolph to PIT, 38 PIT. Good kid. I really enjoyed having him around. I liked flying with him, and he was conscientious and very capable. The only thing, if you call it a character fault, he loved to talk. Just talk. And just loved hearing himself talk. And it didn't matter what you were doing, he'd just keep talking. Anyway, I picked up on this soon after I met him. And this one day I was sitting in my office doing whatever, and he came in and sat down and started talking. And so I thought, okay, let's see what happens. So I get up and I walk out of my office, and he gets up right behind me. He walks out of the office right behind me. So I go through this one corridor. Actually, I went through Three's In out into the hallway. Now in the 560th and Hangar 12, we had these two long hallways that went the length of each side of the hangar. So I hung a left, went down the hallway, took another left on the outside of the hangar, walked down and took another left, came back up the other side of the hangar, took another left, walked down that little hallway, and then back to another left, and then came back through Three's In into my office. Didn't stop anywhere, just walked that square circle, that square, and he kept talking, just talk. I was impressed. He didn't ask me what I was doing, where I was going, and it never dawned on him. I just got up and did a lap, and he just kept talking. Just incredible. Finally, I said, hey, Phil, I got some things I need to take care of. Can we continue this? Oh, yeah, no problem. And he just got up and walked off. Damnest thing I ever saw. He just kept talking. Anyway, I'm going to give you a little background. While he was advanced, he was out on a formation ride with his students once. He had two students, really. One he was flying dual with, and he had a solo student on his wing. And they were doing a turning rejoin, and Phil felt a bump in the airplane. Well, that's not usual. So he looks out, and he sees a solo student on the wrong side of the airplane where he should have been. And he hit the mic button. He says, hey, he says, did you just hit me? And the student says, yes, sir, I think I did. Well, crap. So they go over to the soft desk, the supervisor of flying's channel, and he calls back to, I can't remember what that call sign is now. I think it's Lowell. And he says, Lowell, Reno 17 lead, and go ahead. He says, yeah, he says, I think my number 2 guy just hit me. And I don't know who was on the desk, but they came back and said, Reno 172, stop hitting lead. Something to that nature. Anyway, it turns out he just brushed them barely. They were lucky they didn't have a more catastrophic failure. But that just shows you how laid back Phil was. Well, stop hitting me. Anyway, they recovered the aircraft, had them checked out. They both were fine, more or less. A little skin damage and traded some paint, but that was about all. That just gives you an appreciation just how laid back Phil was. So, wind the clock a couple weeks from this incident, wind it ahead a couple weeks, and we're down the Auger Inn one night, and Phil walks in with his wife, and we're sitting down having a few beers, and I just couldn't stand it. So I shared that story with her about Phil following me around the squadron and not even asking what I was doing. I said, is that kind of natural for him? And she started laughing. She says, if you only knew. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, we got married shortly after he graduated from the academy, and Mom and Dad lived in Colorado Springs. and we go home to visit. So she said one time we went home to visit, and we were having breakfast, and after breakfast, Dad gets up and goes back to the bathroom for his morning constitution, and Phil gets up and he follows Dad back to the bathroom. He's talking, of course, so he follows his dad back to the bathroom, and he just kind of leans up against the wall like this and just keeps talking to him while he's in the john. Just talk. Dear old Dad finished his business, came out, looked at Phil, and went on his way, I guess. I don't know. She said, well, the next day, they had breakfast again. And this time, when dear old Dad got up and headed to the bathroom, he took a chair from the kitchen and set it down outside the bathroom. And then he goes in, takes care of his business while Phil's sitting there talking. He finishes his business, and then he goes out the window and leaves Phil sitting outside the bathroom in the chair. That's one of the funniest and damnedest stories I've ever heard. But God love him. He was a good guy, good pilot, and a good worker. He just loved to talk, though. And today, I love telling his story. So if you happen to see this, Phil, God bless you. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you again here soon. Talk.